Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. I'm joined by Jordan tonight. How you doing, Jordan?
Feeling good on this Wednesday night. How are you doing, Mark?
I'm good. I know we're going to be doing the Wales watch-along on Tuesday afternoon, you being Welsh, so I'm wearing my England top, even though we're not in the same group, just to give you a little bit of intimidation ahead of the Welsh. Well, you got to the semi-finals last time, actually.
I was just about to say, listen, don't be too confident because Wales are going to go further than England again.
Well, we got to semi-final last time, but we've got Southgate in charge, which some people would say is a little bit like Ollie. But look, the things we're going to be talking tonight, everybody, Mourinho's come out sort of mocking Solskjaer. We're going to talk about that. A very decent Italian agent, actually. He was involved in the Osman deal, actually, moving just last summer. Talking about Pogba for Ronaldo, a little bit on Sancho. Literally before I went live there, I just saw a story about from Manchester Evening News saying that Manchester United have got Ben White on their list of centre-back solutions to play with Harry Maguire next season. Don't want to start on a negative, Jordan, but what I mean, I don't know. I mean, some people think Ben White is a good player. I mean, he did all right for England. He's done all right for Brighton. What would your thoughts be on him? £50 million, I think, was mentioned at the start of the week.
£50 million for Ben White. Why do we keep getting shafted for defenders? What is going on? People must see us coming and just pull the shotgun out on the Balaclava. I don't think he's as bad as you sometimes imply he is, Mark. He's not that bad. I think he's better than. No, he's not. He's not in the Phil Jones bracket. I think he's a good defender. And funny enough, I was watching an interview of him the other day talking about when he was released, when he was a bit younger, and his mum asking him about, should he carry on with football, and she rung around to try and get him trials and whatnot. And you could just tell
she shouldn't have bothered. So we can blame his mum now.
Oh, you're a bad fella. You're a bad fella. Give the guy a yard.
He's all right.
No, the passion for him to play football, you could just see it oozing out of him. Whether or not that means he can handle the pressure at Man United, because we know it's completely different. But 50 million, absolutely no chance would I be paying 50 million for Ben White.
No, I think you're right. I think he's a good player, but I think this is, I get very defensive in this situation, and I have a standard of what Manchester United should be, and I just don't think he's it. And I think he's a good player, and he could shock me, and he could end up at Liverpool at some point and be really good. But I just don't think United should be going for that sort of a risk. I think we've got to go for quality, not risk. I think if you're Man City or Chelsea or even Liverpool, maybe you can take a risk, but we're trying to close a gap, and I think that. The thing we're going to start off with is Jose Mourinho. Now, I don't know whether everybody's seen these quotes, so I'll give them, and then I'll get your thoughts on it, everyone in the chat, and Jordan as well. So basically what Mourinho has said, I mean, obviously he's managing Roma now. He's been sacked by United, sacked by Chelsea, sacked by Spurs. He said, good for United. I have a good relationship with the fans there. Good for United that another good for United that another trophyless season is seen as progress and a positive. When I was there, expectation was higher. What's your thoughts on that, Jordan? So basically he's saying the standards have dropped, that when he was there, the expectation was better, and now it's celebrated that second place is a positive.
Yeah. Well, look, before I dig out Jose, because I'm going to dig him out for that comment, I just want to say that I actually really like Jose Mourinho. I think he's box office. He's great for the game, but you don't want him at your club. I think we should have had him when Fergie retired, and we had him at the wrong time. However, that being said, he is a bitter man, because he knows when he gets home and he takes off his Armani suit and he looks himself in the mirror, he thinks to himself, I failed at Manchester United. He was sent there to win the title, and he didn't win the title. And,
could he have won the title, though, Jordan? That's what I think. I agree with this sacking. I was there saying Mourinho out with anyone else, but in hindsight, forgetting about Ollie for a minute, is he not the same as what Ollie's got this summer? That, did he actually have the players to win a title? Because I would say he didn't. And I would say that, yeah, he did fail, but the Glazers, again, just didn't provide him with the players that he needed.
No, I agree with you. And you actually look on paper, he probably has been our most successful manager, since Sir Alex has left. And he wasn't back, but none of the managers have been backed, and you've got to make the best of a bad situation. Unfortunately, the club backed Pogba over Jose. Now, whether or not that's the right decision, we'll know after this summer if if Pogba decides to walk away on a free. If he walks away on a free, I think we go back to the Jose situation and say, do you know what? We should have probably sold him then.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Mark, he's 100% as bad as you make out. What a downgrade from Varane to Ben White, says Andy and Bruno. And Jose's totally right, says Akshay. There are some people saying he's right. He's never given, he was never been given enough time and resources to do his bit. Pep, Klopp, Conte all got more time and immense resources, says Akshay. And there's a lot of people saying he's not wrong. I mean, I do agree with Jordan in the sense that I think he is bitter, and I think he's probably bitter for a very valuable reason that a lot of people are bitter in competitive sport. That Mourinho did feel like he got stabbed in the back by United, and he certainly had. Look, there's very big similarities between now and then. I've said this before. We finished second on Mourinho. He didn't get backed in the summer, and he was sacked by Christmas. We've just finished second with Ollie. If he doesn't get backed, I think he will get sacked. But I think the interesting theme for me, Jose's 100% right on this occasion, says Nick P. Disclaimer, he's still a miserable git. And I think that's probably what people are saying there, Jordan, is that what he's coming out about expectations being lowered, because what he's basically saying is that when I was there, second place was a failure, but now it's seen as a positive. I think in that sense, he may well be right, isn't he? That he's saying, look, the standards are dropping at United, but I don't think anybody can say, well, Jose should still be in a job. He can be right and wrong.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. He can be right and wrong, and I actually agree with him. I do think that he's right about the whole second place thing. And this is where we said that if Ollie had won a trophy as well as finishing second, we would have said that was progress. It's one of those where the Ollie ins will look at it and say glass half full. The Ollie outs will say half, three quarters empty. So he is right, but I think the problem is that he keeps bitching about Manchester United. He really can't let it go. He's like turning into that ex-boyfriend that keeps watching your stories on Instagram but doesn't follow you. Do you know what I mean? He just keeps chipping in.
I ain't got any ex-boyfriends like that, Jordan. Don't know about you. And if you have, that's fine. We live in a diverse world, but you've got plenty of ex-girlfriends doing it, but yeah.
Yeah. He just seems like that kind of character. He won't let it go. And I think he must be even more bitter now that he went to Spurs and that didn't work. So really, in terms of the bracket of clubs that he's managed, going to Spurs was a drop, you would say. And then he's gone to Roma now, and that's a drop even further. Where does he go from here now? He's been sacked at his last three clubs. He's bitter. He's looking at Ollie. He's looking at his CV and thinking, I should have been given more time.
Jose, second place, 81 points, 25 wins, 68 goals. Better at the back with a lesser defence. Not progress when highest points since Sir Alex Ferguson was under Jose. So Anton is another one sticking up for him. Jose's 100% right. So a few people are saying that. I mean, look, the one thing I would come back at, and I don't like to, not remember things, because, of course, Jose Mourinho said when he came second, that's the biggest achievement of his career. And now he's sort of mocking what Ollie's done finishing second. And I saw somebody, it might have been the Manchester Evening News, saying he's a bit of a hypocrite. I don't think he is a hypocrite. And just to use an opposite thing, because obviously Jordan was talking about ex-boyfriends, I'm gonna be a little bit. I'm gonna say Miss World. It could be Mr. World. It could be Miss World. But look, just defending Mourinho about that. If he said a few years ago that second place was a great achievement for United because of where they were, and that second place 3 years later is not an achievement, surely he's right, because second place 3 years ago was the closest we've been to a title since Sir Alex Ferguson left. 3 years later, to be replicating that but not winning trophies, it's not the same. It's like me saying 3 years ago, I married Miss World. She's the best looking girl in the world. Well, 3 years later, she might not be. There might be a better model now, and that's. Or a Formula One car was quick. That was quick 3 years ago is not quick now. I'm not comparing Miss World to a Formula One car. I'm just using examples of things that can win 3 years ago that are not wins now. And I think that you can't call Mourinho a hypocrite because he said second place 3 years ago was great and now it's not progress. I mean, there's a great quote here as well. I don't know what you think about this, everyone. What he also said in furtherance to what he'd said is that the reality is, since leaving Manchester United, even with a different investment, a different stability, a different perception that somebody's going to do amazing work, what has happened? Nothing. And so he's proper, but I do agree with him here. He's saying, look, apparently there's a different investment, there's a different stability, there's a different perception, there's a different plan, there's a different structure. They've got the old boys back. I mean, these aren't Mourinho's words now; these are mine. But he's more or less saying, look, all this different, all this change, we're going to do it the right way now. They still haven't won a trophy, and they've finished second with less points than I did. I mean, I actually don't think he's wrong on this, even though I would never want Mourinho back. I just think he's right in relation to how I'm not even blaming Ollie. What I'm blaming is the standards of the club. I've been on about this for years on this channel. The standards of the club have steadily dropped now that so many of our fans actually think second place is progress.
Yeah, no, you're right. And these are not comments that he's just making off the cuff. He's obviously sat and thought about this and got over it in his head. Right? And this is where the Ollie ins, really, really want Ollie to succeed and to work. Because if this was any other manager, they would have looked at it after 2.5 years and gone, he isn't the right guy. It's not an achievement. And this is where, you're right. You've hit the nail on the head. If he doesn't get the right backing over this summer, he really could be gone by Christmas. Patience will run out.
Mourinho is right, says Victor. The mentality has dropped. Ollie doesn't have the mentality to win titles. Remember, he said that winning title is for egos. Also, Ollie had Fernandes and had a much better backline. Also, Cavani, it's not progression, says Hashim. The health of the club should be taken into account when talking about progress. We got third and second and players are happy. Jose was so toxic, but he won trophies, Justin, you could say. Yeah, Mourinho could be right, but also Mourinho's management doesn't work in the Premier League anymore. He won't change. Ollie has the potential to if he wants, says Steve Locke. And I'm not sure how matchups happen coming out of the Euros group. Does anyone know when the earliest England and Wales could meet? I really hope it happens, says Joshua Bowwater. That's a good question. I haven't even looked at that because I just don't think Wales will get out the group. But, maybe they will. There's more of this on Saturday afternoon because we're doing a watch-along together on That's Football. But so if you want more Wales-England banter, that will come. But just to close off this Mourinho thing, I thought there was a really good point in there about Mourinho and the health of the club, etc., etc. But I think for me, what this is not about, somebody just said there that, Ollie... criticising Ollie. I think Ollie's done a good job. This for me isn't about Mourinho versus Ollie, Jordan. What this is about, I actually think Mourinho, I agree with you. I think Mourinho's doing this because he's bitter. But just because he's bitter doesn't mean he's not making a good point. No, I think he's making a good point for the wrong reasons. I agree with you. I think he's doing it because he's bitter. But he's actually hit on something that resonates with me because I don't think this is about Solskjaer or Mourinho. I think what Mourinho's done, and I don't think he's intended to do this, he's basically saying that over 3 years, the club hasn't progressed. It's now celebrating something that 3 years ago it thought wasn't good enough. So that shows a regression. But my frustration with that is with the Glazers. It's not with Ollie. It's not with Mourinho. I just think this shows that over 3 years, since Mourinho was sacked at second place, where we are now, I don't think we have progressed. I don't think we've progressed massively in the transfer market. I don't think we've progressed as a football club. We haven't progressed with trophies. I think the vision is a lie. I don't necessarily think that's to do with Solskjaer, to be honest. I just think it's the club is in a false position where, I've got to be honest, I felt we could have finished fifth this year. I thought we could have finished fourth. We finished second. Well done to Ollie for that. But I don't feel convinced that we're the second. I don't think anybody believes we're the second best club in England.
No, definitely not. I agree with you. And Jose was crying out for another centre-back. And Ollie was back with that centre-back.
Yeah.
Would Ollie have gone more out... would Jose have gone more out of a Harry Maguire? Would he have gone more out of having Bruno in the team? So I really, really do think the reign of Jose... We really need to revisit this conversation when we see what happens with Pogba. Because ultimately, that was the decision, wasn't it? There'd been a complete... breakdown in relationship between the two of them. Two massive characters. The club looked at it. Pogba was a big figure, locked into a long-term contract, and they chose to back Pogba over Jose. If end of this summer the decision's made for him to walk out on his contract for free, then maybe you're going to look at it and think, they should have done something different a few years ago.
Mourinho is football heritage. He is history. No point dwelling on what he has to say, says Mojo. Our style of football hasn't massively improved either, Mark, says LJ. Honestly, the club needs reformation from top down. Players like Pogba know how unhappy they are. It's just a symptom of the board. They've been sold lies. Mojo, I disagree with you. I think that Mourinho is football heritage. And I also agree with that previous comment that Mourinho is dusted. I said Mourinho was dusted when United sacked him. I couldn't believe Spurs took him. But I don't think we're talking about Mourinho versus Ollie here. I think we're talking about Mourinho making a comment that actually has resonated. I think he's right, but I don't think he's right for the right reasons. I think he's hit on something that we've taken from his statement, that are we progressing? Are we in a better position than 3 years ago? It's not about bringing Mourinho back. I would never want that to happen. But it's interesting what you talk about Paul Pogba there, Jordan, because that's the next thing I want to talk about, really. There's an agent from Italy. I forget his name, and I did write it down. I must have written it. Yeah, Andrea D'Amico. He's been involved in Italian football for a long time. I think he even had non-Italian clients like Bierhoff and people like that over the years. He was speaking to Tutto Sport, which is an Italian outlet, basically saying that Ronaldo can leave Italy. Very hard for him to go to. He said Bundesliga or Spain is very hard to do. PSG is unlikely. Therefore, the Premier League looks the most likely. Therefore, Manchester United and a swap deal with Paul Pogba. It's not what he said that's annoyed me. Why can't he let his grudge go? He resents us more than all other clubs. Childish prat, says Daniel Kirk. Nice to see another side there. And send Ollie on loan next season and see if he improves, says Martin McCulloch. I'm sure. I know plenty of you would do that. But look, let's talk about the transfer window for a moment, and let's talk about this Pogba-Ronaldo sort of possibility, because I do feel that the transfer window, we've been talking about Sancho for a couple of weeks. There's a bit of an update I can give you on that in a moment, but it feels like United's transfer window has slipped into a coma again. We've gone to sleep a little bit, and I don't think we're going to come awake until after the Euros now. I think it's very unlikely. I even forgot that some people talk about Zakaria. I forgot he was playing in the Euros with Switzerland. So that even if you think we can go and get Zakaria which I don't think we will, that everyone seems to be in the Euros. But Ronaldo, Pogba, I mean, you were talking about Pogba there. Let's see what happens with Pogba. I'm a firm believer that he'll run his contract down, and I think, that's just a business decision. What would you do with Pogba? If is Ronaldo a swap deal you would do? Is it? Have we got to get rid of Pogba this summer if he's not going to sign a new contract? Do you keep him next year and try and hope he'll sign a new contract? Fear losing him for free?
Yeah, I think the decision needs to be made this summer. I don't think we can let it drag on for another year. I think we need to take what we can for him if he's not going to commit. I mean, you look at him for France with better players around him. Yeah, maybe we have let him down and we haven't invested correctly in the midfield over the last however many years, and we haven't given him the better players around him for him to be able to perform. But we are in a position now where we are going to lose him for free, and I really do feel like behind the scenes, these are conversations him and Rio are having, that's the card they need to play, put the ball into their court, and then see who's out there. The thing with Ronaldo is, I said this before to you, Mark. Bringing him back now, there's a massive risk of us damaging his legacy. He played for us with some of the best players that have ever played for the club. Imagine him coming back now and trying to pull strings with that central midfield. Like, do you know what I mean? It's a recipe for disaster. So the romance and the fairy tale of Ronaldo coming back, even if it is just a straight swap of Paul Pogba, is something that we cannot let happen. We need to take the money we can for Paul Pogba and invest it correctly into the team.
Just on Mourinho, Mario says there is an argument that Mourinho's second place team was more stable. Ollie's team can win or lose to anyone on any given day. But I think Mourinho could do that. I'm sure we lost to Newcastle with him as well. United went downhill when Mourinho assistant left and Carrick and McKenna replaced him. That's why the football is now different. Yeah, that's very true, Thomas. Always said when Rui Faria left, that did coincide with Mourinho falling off. And Prince C says United has played more attacking football under Ollie than Mourinho. To your point, Mark, if we can get a good midfielder and another good centre-back, I think United thrives under Ollie, says Prince C. And I hope that's to be the case, which is why, what Jordan's saying there about Pogba is very, very true. Because if you lose Paul Pogba, we've heard today that Donny van der Beek was carrying an injury for a few weeks before this and was actually taking painkillers to play in the Euros, which actually puts a different perspective on that, Jordan, really, because I was saying when I heard this, it's gutting, he's hardly played all season. The one player you want to play in the Euros for game time is Donny. But actually, if he's been carrying an injury for a few weeks, I don't really want him to play in the Euros. I want him to have a month off and get ready for the new season. So my opinion's changed on that now. I don't know about you. I know he's not played a lot of football, but
yeah, no, definitely. We want all our players, from a selfish point of view, to be fit and ready to go for next season if they're going to get used. I look at Rashford, the same thing at England. If he's really carrying an injury, and as much as the English fans watching now will be like, no, we need him for the Euros. From a Man United point of view, mate, I think we need to wrap him up in cotton wool and get him back to Carrington. I mean, Dan James as well for Wales. I know you're worried, Mark. I know you want him to stay fit.
I thought you were going to say I'm worried about Dan James and Wales. I was like, bloody hell. I'm more worried about North Macedonia, to be honest. Hey.
Oh, but yeah, from a salvage point of view, yeah, I am glad he's took that time. I'm absolutely gutted for the lad. I really want him to play football, and I think he needs that for himself from a confidence point of view to go and have a run of games over the summer and maybe prove a point to Ollie and show Ollie what he can do. But unfortunately, that isn't the way it is. So yeah, hopefully he hits the ground running, has a good pre-season, and gets some minutes next season.
Yeah, definitely. I do like Wales, by the way. It's just that Jordan's Welsh and we're doing a watch along on Tuesday afternoon together. So, I do want Wales to do well, but I will be there with my cheese on toast. Is that a Welsh dish? Welsh rarebit?
Welsh rarebit, yes, it is. Yeah, it is.
What else what else Welsh stuff can I do that's going to wind you up? You got any famous pop stars or anything like that? See, if you were like Ireland, I could
Have
like.
we got any famous pop stars? We've got
Tom Jones.
Tom Jones.
Think I better dance now. Think I better dance now. Yeah. So
right, do me a favour. Before Saturday, please work on your Welsh accent.
I know.
Please give me something.
Even with a Welsh person, I can't do it. Toby says I don't miss the valleys, Jordan.
Neither do I, mate.
There you go. And I can do meet for Dan James. I could wear a Sonic the Hedgehog outfit or something like that. Whilst you wear your Welsh top, I'll wear a Sonic the Hedgehog outfit. But no, just back to the Ronaldo thing. It's a difficult one for me because I love Ronaldo, and I do get the sense that it's more of a division than I thought. And maybe Cavani staying has changed that. I think if Cavani'd left, I think a lot of people would say, yeah, get Ronaldo. But with Cavani here, how do you get Cavani and Ronaldo in the team? Because they both got to play as the number 9. I agree with that. But I can't. I'm only here once. Ronaldo's only here once. If I can see Ronaldo in a United shirt again, I want to see it. Do I want to see him swapping with Pogba? It's not that I want to see it. It's just I genuinely think Pogba's going to lose. So I think I'm in the situation where would I swap Pogba for Ronaldo now, or would I lose him for free next year? So basically, it's not an easy answer because it's like, do you swap Pogba for Ronaldo now, or do you have Pogba for another year and then he goes for nothing? And it is for me, I would do the swap now because you get something. And I don't, and people would say, well, no, a year of Pogba is better than 2 years of Ronaldo. But Pogba next year, is he going to be committed when he knows he's got to stay fit for that move in the summer? Is he going to be driving into tackles and stuff like that? I think you've got to, I think in your final year of a contract, you've got to look out for yourself. So, I mean, what would you do, Jordan, in that situation? If you've got to make a choice, Pogba says, I'm leaving for free in the summer, and the only other thing I'm going to do this summer is go to Juventus in a swap with Ronaldo. So you either lose me for free in a year, but you get me for a year, or I'm going to Juventus and you swap me with Pogba. What would you do?
Yeah, then he really leaves us with no choice. Don't get me wrong, taking Ronaldo is not a bad thing. So yeah, that is what I would do. I would do the deal. Because I really don't think Pogba on his own is going to single-handedly be the difference between us winning trophies or winning the title next season. Because we need the other players around him. So we're not. It's not like when we were going to lose Ronaldo, we begged him to just give us one more year and then we moved him on.
Yeah. So
yeah, I would do the deal.
Yeah. I think, I don't know whether that'll happen. I mean, what I would say is that yes, this transfer window, and I'll talk about Sancho. Bruno, apparently scored for Portugal. Bruno, I mean it's a friendly, but it's still Bruno. We're going to be doing a Euros preview tomorrow, actually, on That's Football. Jordan's on it. We've got about 6 of us on it, so join us for that. I'll give a shout out for that. But I do think that something's going to happen, more than one thing. And Nick P says, I enjoy the memories with Ronaldo. What I don't want is a slightly ageing Ronaldo getting embarrassed by decline in people's expectations of it. Mate, this drop-off on Ronaldo is a myth. Like, he's not dropped off. Like, he has dropped off, and Messi's dropped off. But they've dropped off from, it's like Superman on a hangover. He's still Superman. Like it's just not. He's not been out on the piss the night before. He can still do amazing things. I still think Ronaldo would win the Golden Boot if he came to United. I think he's an amazing.
Do you really think so, Mark?
Yeah.
Do you really think? Yeah.
Yeah. I think Messi's dropped off, and I think Ronaldo's dropped off. But I think football's so flippant. It's like whoever's top at Christmas, they'll be talking about them being the best Premier League side ever. They're going to win the every year we get this Lineker and co. Oh, this Man City signed the best team the Premier League's ever seen. We saw it with the Man City 3 years ago. We've seen it with Liverpool 2 years ago. I think people just want to move on from the past. But I still think Messi will win another Ballon d'Or. I don't know whether Ronaldo will win another Ballon d'Or unless he comes back to a bigger league. But I think most of Ronaldo's problem is playing in the Serie A, which I love, but is not a top league in relation to the Premier League or La Liga or maybe even the Bundesliga now.
Yeah, I think he did score a lot of goals last season in a very defensive league. So maybe he could come back to the Premier League and open up defences and score goals. My concern is just over the course of a season, I think he needs to be very carefully managed, similar to the Cavani thing. I don't think you can do it 2-3 games a week. But the last thing you want to see, you could balance it and use both. But the last thing you want to see is Ronaldo coming back and Tyrone Mings pinging Ronaldo up in the air. It'd break every United fan's heart. So I'd only bring it back if we were confident that he could deliver.
Yeah, I think Ollie would do it, but look, I think we'll have to see. I think the transfer window has slowed down a little bit for United, but I do think that they will do some business. Ben Anderson says it's not just what Ronaldo would bring to the pitch, but what he would bring to the dressing room as well. Has the potential to have the same effect as Eric. I mean, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. Sell Pogba, sign Sabitzer, rest the budget on Varane, Trippier, Sancho, and a CDM, says the Manjovic. I mean, yeah, if Sabitzer's around for 15 million, I'd definitely do that deal. Just to give you an update on Sancho, I mean, I'm so glad that we're not talking about Sancho at the start of the show for a change. And for everybody who says we're always talking about Sancho, I was looking at the last 5 thumbnails and Sancho's only on 1. So I don't know what people are talking about. We've had Solskjaer, we've had Pogba, we've had Ronaldo, and today we've got Jose. So, we're not always... We do talk about Sancho every show, but it's not always the headline. Ronaldo has just scored for Portugal and Bruno's got... Who are they bloody playing? Macclesfield. They must be whoever Portugal are playing. They must be shit. But
I was waiting for a Wales joke there, Mark.
Missed it. Could have been
you
Wales.
Missed it.
But I knew it wouldn't be Wales because they're playing on Saturday. So they would have been my option, but they're playing on Saturday, so it's impossible. Thanks for the super chat, William Hadley. So yeah, the latest on Sancho from Romano, and it's stating what he's already said before. No official bid from Manchester United. The price that Dortmund want is 95 million euros, which is about 80 million pounds. Although there is a German journalist, Berger, his name is, saying that that Dortmund expect Sancho to leave. There's a lot of people, Jordan, who thought that Sancho could happen before the Euros. And there's still some people who think it can happen before the Euros. It's not. That's gone. I mean, it had to be yesterday for me. Today would have been weird. Not tomorrow. We're playing on Sunday lunchtime. There's no way Southgate's going to go off your trot, Jadon, and sort a deal out. So it's not going to happen before the Euros. What do you think about Sancho? Is it going to happen? And what are you thinking about? Are you relaxed that United are not going to do any deals till July now?
No, definitely not relaxed. Far from it. But what are they waiting for, Mark? Are they waiting to solve world peace before we do this deal? This is a year in the making. This is not like they started it this summer. Like everything is lined up. These things were all negotiated. It's literally just agreeing the price. It's as though the Glazers has just sat there like, let's just hold on to the money a little bit longer and just keep racking up that interest before we make the first payment. Like, and I think it's almost our fault as fans with the whole Glazer out movement. Like, we really need to stay on them, as much as we can and pressure them and let them know that this Sancho deal is not enough. It really isn't. So if they drag this out till end of July and then they drop that on us and we all go, okay, we've got him now. Well, that's not good enough because that effectively then is 2 summers worth to get one player over the line.
Yeah, I agree. I think it will happen. I mean, do you think we will get Sancho?
Yeah, I do. I think, all the right people are talking about it now. I think the glamour signing is needed from the Glazers' point of view. And again, going back to the Ronaldo thing, if we were to do that Pogba to Ronaldo, I really think like the Glazers would sit back and go, that's the signing. That's the signing we need. So it might have a negative effect on the Sancho deal because they're looking for a signing to really keep the fans quiet. And what better signing than to bring our most famous player in recent years back to the club.
Just in case people are interested, Portugal are 2-0 up against Israel which I think in the international community they do call Israel sort of like the Welsh of the Middle East, don't they?
Yeah, you're having a laugh here. You're having a laugh. You've got Southgate in charge. You need to be careful.
I know. Luckily, you're not going to play us. I mean, when we lose to Scotland, that's going to be my Scooby-Doo. But Ronaldo is a machine. I think he would be top scorer. He still has it. Been supporting United for 40 years. Would love to see him back, says Chris Morton. I agree with you, Chris. The funny thing is that we're talking about Ronaldo, whether he'd do well in the Premier League. We ain't got to wait long. He's playing in the bloody Euros, which is where Mbappe is and everybody else, and Harry Kane is. So, and I think that, the next few weeks, I mean, I'm not saying United are going to sign Ronaldo, but if anybody doubts Ronaldo, he's going to be playing at number 9 for Portugal in the Euros. And a lot of the top best players in the world are going to be playing in that tournament. And you'll see whether Ronaldo's passed it or not. I mean, looking at the team he's playing with tonight, I don't know what the story is with João Felix, but he's got Bruno behind him at 10, Jota on the right, Bernardo Silva on the right, Jota on the left, Bruno 10, he's the number 9. Ruben Neves and Carvalho as the midfield. He's got Ruben Diaz in the team, Cancelo. I mean, they could do some damage in that. I mean, they could do some damage to England, because if we finish top and they finish second, we're playing them in the knockout.
Yeah, no, I think Portugal are a dark horse of this tournament. Not a dark horse, but I think that they could be one of the favourites. But you saying that about that team, I mean, look at that midfield compared to our midfield. I mean, he turns up at Old Trafford and, sees those two jelly beans in midfield. He's going to be like, what has happened to this club?
I wouldn't mind Ronaldo and Ruben Neves coming in, actually. That's a bit of a Portuguese spine I wouldn't mind. Jay says that Duncan Castles on the transfer window said no one at United know how much they are allowed to spend on players. And Gustav says, do you know if there is any real movement to not buying shirts this summer? I think we all need to pressure the fan base to take a stand. Gustav, I would hope there's going to be a movement for that, but I don't know. After the fan forum, everything, I don't know whether that fire's gone out or not. I mean, we'll obviously keep you updated if there is a movement, and if you choose to buy a shirt or not, that's up to yourselves. But the answer is I honestly don't know at the moment. And going back to that transfer comment there about United don't know how much money they've got to spend, I think that they do know how much they've got to spend. I think they've got the money to buy Jadon Sancho. And I think the rest of it needs to be generated by selling a goalkeeper, selling Lingard, selling people like Delo. They can raise 100 million from selling players, but therefore Duncan Castles isn't wrong. They don't know how much they've got to spend because they don't know whether they can sell. And I do think we'll have to sell to buy. Ross Gunn says, how do you explain Pogba's change in form and quality from United to France? Is it down to his attitude or the players around him? Well, you can answer that, Jordan. Pogba was fantastic last night, but I wouldn't go off a one-off game. I think Pogba for France is very different to what he is for United. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, it's a confidence in the players around you, a freedom. I think there's a respect there. He is, one of the main men there. He's tried those flicks and tricks, at Old Trafford, and they just haven't come off the same way they do come off of France. And it literally is, that drop of a ball, the difference. But you're surrounded by World Cup winners. You feel different. And this is why, again, going back to it, all he needs that first trophy, because then they're all trophy winners. That first league title, they're all league winners. And then it just builds a confidence in the players around you. He's probably looking around his teammates now and thinking he's superior than them. And when he gets to France, he's looking at them and going, well, I'm not superior. I'm an equal level of these, and I have to deliver.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, I would also add to that, because I don't disagree with what you said there, but I would also add to that, security is part of that, attitude is part of that, happiness is part of that. France, I think Jordan hit the nail on the head. When he goes and plays for France, it's they're World Cup winners. They're all fantastic players in their own right, and there is a stability there, and he's happy there. And these are players that he plays with every year for years. Kante, Griezmann, they're players that he knows and trusts. And there's a difference in quality. And the pressure. Yeah. If you are playing for France and you're up against it, and you look to your right, you've got Griezmann, and you've got Mbappe, and up front you've got Benzema, and behind you you've got Kante and Varane. It's a different thing to looking behind you and having bloody Lindelof and Fred, and on your right you've got bloody Dan James going meet. It's different. Yeah. So I think that has a big part, and the pressures on for France because they're favourites, but it's also you share that pressure with better and bigger personalities. I suppose. I think that's probably what I would think about that, Jordan. I don't know whether you agree.
Mark, for the next 4 weeks, I will not tolerate any Dan James slander. He is a completely different machine for Wales than he is for United. He is a greasy, well-oiled, fast assist machine for Wales. So please, no Dan James slander for the next 4 weeks.
Well, I'm wearing my England top purposely. This is I'm trying to intimidate you with my England top. I'm like, I'm excited about the Euros. It's not tomorrow. They kick off on. I keep thinking it's Thursday. It kicks off in 2 days, doesn't it? So I'm excited about the Euros, and we're going to be doing watch-alongs on That's Football for the Euros. And I've invited Jordan on Tuesday afternoon on Saturday afternoon for the. Who are you playing?
Switzerland.
Oh, good, Zakaria, Team Zakaria. All right, you can be the Welsh. I actually don't mind the Welsh winning, but just to wind you up a little bit and all the Welsh, I'm going to be singing for Switzerland. Zakaria's tell me some Swiss players. Zakaria, live chat, come on. But no, we'll have a bit of laugh with that. And
do you know what's just funny, Mark? I was sat earlier looking at the fixtures and I will root out of the groups, and I thought, looking at this group, Switzerland's our easiest game. But then I looked at Switzerland and thought they're thinking the same thing about Wales.
Who else is in that group? Italy and Turkey.
Italy, Turkey, yeah.
Oh yes, my real name's got Italian in it, so I always like it. I think you might scam third place if you can get a result against Switzerland. That's your cup final on Saturday.
It really is. Yeah. We got to get off to an absolute flyer. We really do. Yeah.
I hope Dan James does well because then we can sell him.
You watching for Wales? He's a different player.
Do you like Dan James then, just because he's Welsh? Is it a national thing, or do you actually think he's not good enough for United?
I don't think he's good enough for Manchester United. I think it's a completely different thing. Going back to your interview with Ben Foster, where he said, he just came to Manchester United and he just couldn't handle the pressure. He doesn't know what it is, but he couldn't perform the way he wanted to perform. I think you put Dan James in a Leeds side, a Newcastle, maybe even an Everton, and he's a player. You put him at Old Trafford, and I just think the waters are too deep for him.
Yeah, I agree. I think with Dan James at United, it's a bit like Dan James playing for England. The quality's too high, whereas Wales is probably more like a Sheffield United, which I think he can do. I'm trying to smile. I'm trying not to smile.
I'll save it for Saturday. You wait till Saturday.
I'm looking forward. I'm just very excited about the Euros. Sorry to the Welsh. I actually do like the Welsh. Well, Jordan's Welsh, but I do like the Welsh. But I do like the banter. And if Wales lose, I do want Wales to win on Saturday. But the problem is the Welsh never want the English to win. The Scottish never want the English to win. I think England fans are quite laid back. I don't want Scotland. When England play Scotland, I want England to batter them. But I wouldn't mind Scotland doing it. I quite liked Wales going to the semi-finals in the last Euros. I always used to, like Ireland to do well, but no one ever wants England to do well. Swapping Pogba for Ronaldo would weaken our midfield even more. Would that be worth it? Well, Nicola, you're right. I don't want to lose Pogba because the midfield is weak. It really is weak. But I think the Pogba issue is out of our hands. I mean, just talking about the Euros for a minute. I mean, it's more of an England thing, but Maguire's not even training yet for England. I mean, this is just because I'm old school and because Sir Alex Ferguson wouldn't have given two shits about England or the Euros or anything like that. He would have been thinking about next season. I mean, the thing is, and this is where Mourinho's right, even though he didn't mean this. Mourinho saying that United have not progressed is just because he's trying to make out that he's good. But we haven't really progressed from the Mourinho days because of the Glazers. But when you compare today to what it was like under Sir Alex Ferguson, if Sir Alex Ferguson was in charge of this United side and it had just finished second place and it had just lost the Europa League final and it was miles off Man City, he would not be saying to an injured Harry Maguire and an injured Marcus Rashford and an injured Donny van der Beek and a tired Bruno Fernandes, you go off and enjoy yourselves in June and you go and try your arts out. He'd be like, you're injured. I don't want you to go. I don't want you to go. But it seems with Ollie, as part of his man management style, it's about making everybody happy. So he's like, yeah, I know you're injured, Harry, but you go and try your best to play for England and we'll pick up the pieces afterwards. And, it's a hard one, isn't it? Because there are, Ollie's done a fantastic job with man management. And I think a lot of the players love Ollie for that. But I do wonder about Harry Maguire. If you're not fit to play the first game and England beat Croatia, why would you pick Harry Maguire anyway? So it's almost like, is Southgate just another man manager like Ollie who doesn't want to Because Henderson only played his first 45 minutes since February, last game out. Rashford, we know, has had a lot of injury problems. Harry Maguire can't even train yet. It's like, I just worry about next season for United. That's all I'm bothered about.
Yeah, no, I get your point. I think maybe we might be doing Harry a slight unjust there, that maybe he is a character and a leader to these players, and they want him in the dressing room, they want him around the camp to call on. Because you look at the last tournament, and that's when Harry come of age. Mm-hmm. The famous picture of him stood in the stands, with the one arm. Like, that's when he, like I said, he's coming out party. So yeah, maybe that's what it's more to do with. More
not
so
that sort of coming out party. Anyone? He's married.
yeah, not that sort of coming out party at all. But yeah, maybe that's what it is. That kind of angle, and now we'll maybe need him, or not we. England will need him later on in once, if they get out of the qualifying, out of the groups.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, Marcus Rashford wants to play in the Euros for England. Harry Maguire wants to play in the Euros. Donny van der Beek wanted to play in the Euros and played with painkillers. I get the player side of it, but I do worry about next season for United. I mean, where you look, I'm wearing an England top because I'm hyped for the Euros, but realistically, if I took this top off, the real thing is United. I mean, I haven't got one underneath, unfortunately, but Jordan has, and I do think that, look, if Rashford's going to play through the Euros, then have an operation, how can he ever be ready for the start of the season for United? If Maguire isn't fully fit and plays in the Euros, does he set himself back and then he's not ready for the start of the season? Well, suddenly, if Maguire and Rashford are going into the season not fresh for another 9 months, is that perfect preparation for a squad? We don't have a squad like Man City and Chelsea. We don't have Laporte on the bench. We don't have Mahrez on the bench. We can't afford to lose two of our best players. So I'm just saying it I just think we've had a ridiculously hard season, and I worry about Rashford and Maguire and what they're going to be like next season if we don't get this right now.
Well, one other point on that, Mark, I think we also need to remember that last pre-season was a shocker.
Yeah.
So, it's not just the season that's been tough. Pre-season wasn't great. So we definitely can't afford to have two of our best players limping into next season.
MG says Wales are winning it all, just like last time. Is a semi a winner for the Welsh then? Do you celebrate a semi?
They don't come around often.
Look, if you get to the semi-final, I'll be stunned. But, I'll be stunned if you get out the group, really. But you can get out the group with third place, which is going to be weird in the Euros. But I would fancy Italy and Turkey. They're my two. In fact, I predicted Italy and Turkey get to the semi-finals. So, we'll see what happens with that. On the right, we need someone who can provide service, and is Sancho that? And with his price tag, will we make any other first-team buys, says Amrit. And some England fans booing players taking the knee. I can't be with that crowd, says Red Baron. And also, we're always going to be second best, said this before. Ollie hasn't the backing to make a good team. Just very, very quickly as well, there are people who are talking about the Super League and how that there's a £20 million fine that's been handed out. But apparently it's been handed out to all 6 clubs, and on average, each club's going to have to pay about £4 million, which is quite a lot of money for that Super League debacle, Jordan.
Yeah, it is, and and rightfully so. And I'm glad the Glazers have come out and said that they're going to pay it personally and not take even more money out of the club. So at least they've done something right. But I really don't feel like they had a choice. And was it, if it happens again? I read something about a 30 points deduction. Did you see that, Mark?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So I think it is a heavy fine, especially when you look at the fines given out to people who are guilty of racism or the financial fair play. They've hit them hard.
Yeah. Look, apparently the Glazers are going to pay that out of the pocket, like you said there. So, look, if they do that, £4 million is a lot of money, but it's not necessarily a lot of money for Manchester United. Here's an interesting quote from calciomercato.com. Manchester United want €100 million for Paul Pogba this summer. The only way Juventus could sign Pogba if Cristiano Ronaldo leaves the club, Ronaldo Pogba swap deal or another swap deal. It's interesting that we were talking about that. What is... I put this to live comments. What is the value of Paul Pogba? Because he's got 1 year left on his deal. It's not... €100 million is just... How can we sit there with a straight face? And this is why I think it's a load of bollocks. You can't sit there with a straight face with Dortmund, who've got Sancho with 2 years on his deal, and say we're going to give you 80 million, but then Pogba with 1 year on his one. I mean, the story's a load of bollocks, to be honest. But what would you seriously put a value on as Paul Pogba, Jordan?
Yeah, 100 million is absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? I think if we could get 30 to 40 million for him, I think we'd be doing really, really well if we can manage to get that amount of money. And even that, I really think we'd struggle to get a club that'll pay us that much money, knowing that next summer he can walk out for free. I honestly feel like Real is, the thought process is already there. I know we're speculating and whatnot. They know exactly what they're doing. They're not waiting to see what United are going to offer. They know what they're doing. They've already made their mind up. Like I said, this deal was probably done 12, 18 months ago. When it fell through pre-COVID, I reckon the deal was done then.
Yeah, Moada says if Madrid want 60 million for Varane with 1 year left on his deal, then Pogba's worth 80. I think that for me, and I would say 60 million as he's in England, says Chris Morton. I think 60 is probably about what he's worth in a fair market, but of course this market, the trouble is with a player with 1 year on his deal is you don't necessarily get a fair deal. I know Hazard with 1 year left on his deal, Madrid paid 80 million and they got a fair price. But I just think in this COVID market where no one's really got any money, I don't think you're going to get a fair price. So I think that you're probably right. I think maybe 30, 35, 40 million is probably what people would be willing to pay, which is why I think that a swap deal is a better deal, because you don't put a price on it then. So, is Pogba worth more than Varane? Yeah, in a normal market he is, but Pogba for Varane probably is a good deal for both sides. Pogba for Ronaldo is probably a good deal for both sides. I don't see Pogba going for money. I think if Pogba's going to go, he's going to go for a swap deal, because I don't think you can put a value on Paul Pogba. At 28, he probably is worth 80, 70, 60 million. I don't know, but you're not going to get that. You're not going to get that.
I mean, look at the egg on United's face if he manages to walk out of that club twice for free.
Yeah, I remember saying that before.
Yeah, they really got to get a deal done this summer. They really, really need to take what they can. And Varane, I'd rather take a swap deal for Varane than I would Ronaldo for him. I don't know what your thoughts are. Who would you rather take as the swap?
Well, put it to the chat. Would you rather swap Pogba for Varane or Pogba for Ronaldo? Because I agree with you on your previous point. I know you said it before, but I think you're spot on. If Pogba walks out this door for nothing again, I mean, God, we're an incompetent club to let it happen once, but to let it happen twice, and it would be nearly 10 years apart. So we lost him as a teenager, and then we lose him in his prime for nothing. Yeah. It would be ridiculous. But a lot of people saying Varane. There's a few people saying Ronaldo, which is good. But I think that, I think if Cavani wasn't at the club, if Cavani'd left, I'd probably say Ronaldo. But because Cavani's there, I can't be a hypocrite. I've always said, icing on a cake that's not made is a waste of time. You've got to bake a cake, and I think that we do need a centre-back. We do need a centre midfielder. They're the two priority positions. I'd swap Pogba with Verratti over Pogba for Ronaldo, because Verratti is a centre midfielder. So, I would agree. I would go with Varane. As much as I want Ronaldo at the club, I'd go with Varane because we desperately need a top-class centre-back. And, I think that's abundantly clear to everybody. I don't want Pogba to see. I hope he doesn't need to come back. The one thing I didn't ask you, Jordan. I mean, we were speaking about Sancho. What's your general perception or prediction for this transfer window? What do you think United are going to do? I mean, because what you thought 2 weeks ago might be different to now, with 2 weeks wasted, and the Euros is going to obviously take up till the start of July before we really start announcing players, and then the season will start at the start of August, and time's going to move very, very quickly once the Euros is over. Do you think that United can get a Sancho deal, a backup right back, a CDM, a centre back, 4 deals, and clear some of the deadwood by the start of the season, or by the end of the window in August?
Yeah, unfortunately, I really don't, Mark. I think we're really, and the track record proves, we're limited on the amount of deals that we know that we can get done. I think the Sancho deal will get done because it's took us 2 summers to get it done, and I do feel we'll get a backup right back I'm hoping it is Trippier, but some of the prices that are being quoted at the moment, now Manchester United are showing an interest, and Mental has seen something about 40 million for Trippier now. It's madness. But I don't think we'll get a CDM. And I think that's more down to Ollie's priorities. I honestly think he looks at McFred, and I think he's happy with him. I don't think he feels like it's a massive issue for him, which is why we're not being overly linked with a lot of other central defensive midfielders. So I think it'll be 2 in, and I think it'll be 2 out.
Chris Morton says, my heart says Ronaldo. I remember him from before out of player. Just going back to that, it reminds me of a conversation I had with someone 3 weeks ago, and we were talking about transfers, and they're quite clued up. They're someone I've spoken to for a few years, and they've been on the channel. I just, they do speak to me privately, so I don't want to sort of expose private conversations, but we were talking about transfers, and I was getting quite angry in a professional friendship way, because I was like, but you're not telling me about a midfielder. Like, he's telling me about Sancho, he's talking about a centre-back, doesn't know who it's going to be, but we'll get one, you'll probably get Trippier. And I'm like, well, talk to me about, what about a midfielder? And he's like, but my job is to tell you what I know. I can't create a story about a midfielder that's not there. And I was getting quite, stressed about it. And I was going, well, we need a midfielder. And he said to me, but at the end of the day, have you ever stopped and sat down and thought that, what if Ollie likes McFred and thinks there's no problem, like you've just said, Jordan? The whole fan base might think there's a problem, but Ollie actually might think that McFred are a good thing. Has he ever shown that he doesn't think they're a good thing? Does he rely on them in the big games? Yes. Does he pick them over putting Pogba in there? Yes. Does he pick them over using Matic there? Yes. Has he done it consistently this season? Yes. What if the fan obsession with a centre defensive midfielder, and he said, look, you're probably right, but what if Ollie and Carrick and everyone else disagree, and they think that Fred and McTominay are the answer? Therefore, that might be your answer as to why you're not getting a midfielder, because all you fans might be right, but what if Ollie thinks McFred, there's nothing wrong with it, and that might be why you're not being linked to a midfielder, because he's happy with McFred. Yeah,
no, I fully agree. Like you said, in all the big games, that's who he starts. He's had the opportunity to put Van der Beek in there and free him off the bench jail, but he hasn't done. Pogba, he's left Pogba out of times, or played him out on the left to accommodate McFred. I honestly think that he looks at those and goes, do you know what? In terms of priorities, let's sort a right back, let's sort a right wing. Our right side's causing us issues, and we'll deal with the rest in another transfer window.
I mean, Kev says he loves McTominay. People think I don't like McTominay. I do like McTominay, and I actually do like Fred. It's what it is for me is drop them both on the bench. I don't mind one of them coming on for half an hour. I don't mind one of them starting against Stoke. But what I do mind is that's our first choice midfield to try and get in the top 4. That's my issue. I don't even think McTominay's a pivot player. I don't. I think he's more of a box-to-box player, and maybe Fred is as well. But when I know for a fact in my mind that Romu and Ward-Prowse are a better midfield too than McTominay and Fred, and that's a Southampton midfield, that tells you the story for me, Jordan. It's just that I don't dislike the players. I think as squad players, and you've got to have squad players, I'm very happy. But as first teamers trying to win a title, you're having a bloody laugh.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. You need those players, those squad players, those... Sir Alex used to call them those utility players that could come in and play different positions in the midfield and whatnot. And like I said, they target the top teams each season, and they would come in for maybe 20 league games, but they would be the right league games that they would play. Or when you needed to lock the back door in the last 15 minutes in a tight game, they would come in and fill the midfield. But for those two midfielders to be playing as many games as they are for us, we're never, ever going to win the league with those two.
Yeah. Uzar says, Ollie's position in doubt. Fans obsessed about the transfer window. No spending because of the Euros. Who gave Joel Glazer and Magic Lamp? And Kev says, I don't like McFred, but I do like them individually. Which I think is a fair point. And I'll go back to that as well. I mean, look, the Glazer out movement was actually very impressive a month ago. And the Glazers were shitting themselves, and everyone in United were as well. Factually, they were. I think a month later, they've gone into their tactics, and they've they know the transfer window will provide them with a safe haven, and they can hide behind that, and they can drag deals out, and they'll keep everybody on their toes, and then the new kit will come out, and then the new players will come out, and then the signings will happen, and then the shirts will sell, and then people will get positive about the new season, and if it doesn't go right, they'll turn on the manager, not the Glazers. The Glazers are safe. I think the Glazers are safe Whether they give the shares up in the club, whether they expand the stadium, whether they fix the leak, whether they clean the toilets, whatever. They're safe now. I think they've ridden the storm, because I think the transfer window will sell shirts. And then if we fail next season, people will turn on Ollie and the Glazers will stay.
Yeah. Mark, why do you think the energy has dropped with the Glazer out movement then? Do you really think it was that the fan forum wasn't really enough to sugarcoat things and to really put the fire out?
I think it's unity. I think unity was the thing that we had. And I think unity has, probably through no fault of anybody's, has fallen apart. I think some people feel that... sorry, Srinvasan says, is it fair to say no CDM, Ollie out by Christmas? I don't know about that, Srinvasan. And I don't think Scott's even good enough to be utility for us, says Joshua Bowter. Park used to be utility and he's twice the player of any contract current midfielders we have. But no, I think it's a combination of things. I think that apathy was a part. You could never maintain that. Once the season finished and the fans weren't in the ground, there was always going to be people who would just like switch off. Oh, I'm bored of it now. And that has happened, and that's human nature. I think some people with the fan forum are hoping that something that will be delivered. I think some people think it won't be delivered. And I think we've gone back to being what we were probably 6 months ago, which is a fan base that we all love the club, but we've all got different ideas again. Whereas I think a month ago, for the one of the first time, which is why I think it worked, I think we had a totally united fan base behind one goal. That European Super League really galvanised the actual hatred for what they tried to do to our club. And I just think I don't think it's that the Glazer out movement has been forgotten. I just don't think it has the momentum anymore for many different reasons. And the Glazer out movement's been there, for 16 years. I just don't think we ever had it as big as it was a month ago, and it's fallen apart now. Yeah, it could come back. It could come back, but I don't know. I think the Glazers have ridden the storm, and I think the only thing that will happen next is if because I think they will buy players, is if we fail next season. But that'll be aimed at Ollie. I don't think that'll be aimed at the Glazers.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you're right. I think Ollie will be the scapegoat, and if he isn't backed, and the fans will get on Ollie by Christmas, because it will be 3 years that he would have been in charge. But ultimately, the underlying issue, the same as previous managers, Jose, I would say, haven't been back to the level that they should have. It is really disappointing, because you're right. I think for the first time, we were one voice, we were united, and I really felt like we had them up against the ropes. I said before, there's no way that fan forum would have happened if that Liverpool game hadn't been called off, sponsors hadn't started pulling out, and that kind of pressure. It really wouldn't have happened, and that was the time to keep the momentum. But I just read one of the comments, and it basically said, it's hard to stay angry for a number of weeks. Someone needs to tell my wife that, because she's angry all the time. So we can, if we apply the pressure.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, I'm the same. I can be really, really angry about something, and then by the end of the day, I'm like, ugh. What? Chris Morton says, let's say what happens. This is the first transfer market since the Glazers done what they done, so let's see what happens with that. If he does, then I'm Ollie out, says Roy, and let's see how many new shirts will be worn beginning of the season. That will be a good assumption where the fans are with the Glazers. Look, if somebody wants to buy a new shirt because they like it and Sancho's wearing it, I ain't got a problem with you on that one. If you want to do that, you do. I personally think you're funding the Glazers, but do it of your own free will. I'm very big on people having the freedom to make their own choice. Will I be buying a United shirt? Look, if I wear a United shirt or anything new over this summer, you've got a right to call me a hypocrite. But that's on me, because I've said that I'm not going to do it. If you want to do it and you think that's the right thing to do, and you want to trust the Glazers, who am I to tell you not to do it? I can't do that. But what I would say is, just going back to what Jordan was saying there, look, this was working. This was working. The sponsors were shitting themselves. There was a sponsor that pulled out a sponsoring taken over from Aon. So you can't say that, it was, I can't be asked for that anymore because it wasn't working. It was working. Yeah. It definitely was working. But, probably like that comment made, for very different reasons, I think it's, for varying reasons, I think it's lost its way. And also, I agree with Jordan on the manager thing. The Glazers love Ollie, but if there is an opportunity next year where it all goes wrong, they will sack him, and they will use, because they know that that's another 3 years in power. Because if you sack a manager, everyone gets excited about the new manager, and they're not thinking about the Glazers. So They've ridden the storm, I think, and now they're in a very strong position because either Ollie will be successful and they'll live off that, or Ollie will get sacked and then they'll live off the hype of the new manager.
Yeah, again, I agree with you. It's on a knife edge. It really is. You know, he really needs to get what he needs this transfer window. But what I would say though is if he is sitting down with the board, Ollie, and he's looking at it going, I need a right winger and a right back over a central defensive midfielder and a centre back, then if it doesn't play out by Christmas, he deserves to go. Because if he's only allowed to have 2 players this summer and he chooses to strengthen the right side rather than the central midfield, then that is on the manager's head.
United Stand have tweeted Paul Pogba out and Jack Grealish in, yes or no, and Jay has tweeted every day and 5 times on Sunday. I think Jay would move Pogba on. Anyway, we will move on because we've hit our hour, which is fantastic.
Is it over?
Yeah, really enjoyed it. Have you?
No, it can't be over already. It feels like 20 minutes. What's happened?
This is what happens with me. It's fantastic.
Mark, I brought the magic tonight. I brought the Welsh magic, and we're bringing some more on Saturday.
Well, we'll see about that. You can watch me and Jordan on Saturday afternoon at 2:00 on That's Football for Wales against Zakaria's Switzerland. You know, I don't want people to pick Switzerland, but you know, I do want Wales to win. But it'd be funny to watch Jordan cry if he doesn't. But it's their cup final. They've got to win. They're in the group with Italy and Turkey, who kick it off on Friday night, don't they? But just very, very quickly, I'd forgotten to mention at the start of the show, links in the video description. I interviewed Paul Ince about Manchester United, the Euros. Really, really interesting because I went into that interview expecting, not knowing, I remember how good a player Paul Ince was, but some of the insight he gave into Sir Alex and how he left. And, you know, a lot of people see Paul Ince as a bit of a traitor because he went to Liverpool. There's a very interesting story around how that happened and how he ended up at Liverpool. And it wasn't actually his fault. And I think he does look back on his time at United with great pride, and he was part of a very good team. Also talk about the Euros, transfers, what he said about Solskjaer, and he basically said he could have done that job. Really good interview. Links in the video description with Paul Ince, and it should be in the live comments. Let me have a look. Let's have a look. Did I not put it in? Yeah, I did. Yeah. And if you click the link, yeah, it takes you there. Brilliant. Okay. Thanks very much for having you on, Jordan.
Absolute pleasure. Can't wait to do it again, Matt.
Cool. And thanks everyone for watching. We'll speak to you all soon. Make sure you smash a like on the video, subscribe. Check out that interview with Paul Ince. It's a really good one. Fantastic show tonight. Really enjoyed it. Lots of topics. Everybody take care, and we'll see you on tomorrow. Thanks for watching.